Hi there, Taurus. Welcome to your Dream Tarot reading for the month of August. So I'm going to get started here. This is your story. So basically, we have the story spread, okay? So the first card, this provides an overview of the chapter of the story that you are presently living. So we have here the Ace of Cups. Love it. Ace of Cups energy. Very emotionally intuitive. Beautiful energy there. All right, so let's take a look here at the Ace of Cups energy. So, the Ace of Cups, a new emotional relationship surfaces. The potentials and opportunities that such emotions can bring us. A gift of goodwill in the middle of a conflict. An elaborately designed cup is seen floating on an endless expanse of water. The cup is composed of four golden mermaids who support the crystal bowl. A metallic ball bearing the elemental sign of water floats in the sky like a sun. In the Ace of Cups, we are presented with a gift from the subconscious. Like a cup being handed to us, the cup may contain love, happiness, jealousy, fear, even hate. We generally can't stop ourselves from feeling an emotion, but we certainly have something to say about how we will react or act or react. Okay. And how we see ourselves as a result of the emotion. The rest of the cards in the Suit of Cups describe these details, these different ways of responding to the gift handed to us in the Ace. In a reading, the Ace of Cups tells us that we are about to experience the beginning of a new emotion or relationship. It also stands for the potentials and opportunities that emotional considerations can give us. If we are in conflict with someone, the Ace of Cups tells us that goodwill can always prevail. We do not have to search for it, it's always there, an inexhaustible supply waiting for us to take the cup of loving kindness. Alrighty, so yeah. That being said, we're going to move to the rest of the story, Taurus. Position 2, what you think. This card describes your conscious mind or your ego, what it thinks about the story and what it thinks the story is in the final analysis. Ooh, we got the Knight of Wands. Interesting. Okay. So we're going from Ace of Cups to the Knight of Wands. I can already feel there's maybe some tension brewing, some passion brewing, some fire, maybe even some toxicity. I don't know. Let's see. There's the difference between love and hate, right? It's a fine line. Personality. The Knight of Wands is the essence of impetuosity. He is headstrong and impulsive. He is single minded. He only has room for one focus, one cause at a time. This is not to say, however, that he will always be faithful to that particular cause. Just as the Knight of Cups is in love with being in love, so the Knight of Wands is in love with being something or someone's champion, and possibly cares more about his role than whatever it is he's championing. Notice how he bears a standard that is blank, showing that it could just as easily represent one cause as another. He pursues his passions with a tremendous amount of energy indicated by the dragon he rides, but he has a short attention span. We often find him abandoning one cause for another, which he champions with just as much energy as he did the first one. Without this intense but short-lived commitment, we probably would never rouse ourselves to accomplish anything. Stage of development, a precarious stage of a project or endeavor where we must invest our complete attention and loyalty if we want to have any hope of succeeding. Approach. Knights are doing. The Knight of Wands suggests that you put your plans into action so that they take on a greater reality than simply as daydreams. Astrology. 2/3 Leo, 1/3 Cancer. The Knight loves his flamboyant role, Leo, and he will go to any means to protect that to which he owes allegiance, Cancer. Yeah, I mean, you are protecting, maybe not an actual Cancer or an actual Leo Taurus, but, there could be somebody with that in their chart, or it could be you protecting yourself, and you could have some Leo or Cancer in your chart as well. And Leo is that fiery side, okay, that fiery energy, okay, that passion and energy inside to ourselves. You can embody that. Everybody has emotions, right, fueled by anger or resentment, or people have emotions fueled by love and passion and desire. So there's also like obsession, for instance. I feel like there's so many emotions happening right now in the cosmos, Taurus. And then Cancer is more of a calmer um, energy. But don't get me wrong, even with Cancers, like they can have the most calmish, chill demeanor. And then as soon as they're put in an environment, they just cannot like stand, right? They just do not like where they are. They do not like the energy that they're getting from where they are. They can just lose it in a second. They can just be like, no, I'm out of here. Like, fuck this. Like, so I feel like that is something that is your experience. I feel like you're experiencing a lot of emotions right now. I feel like a volcano is about to erupt, Taurus. I don't know why. So we're going to find out. Okay, so position 3, what you get. This describes the physical circumstances in which you will find yourself if your story continues on its present path. Okay, so I feel like if you keep having all these emotions bottled up and you don't start to release them, there's going, that's not a good thing. Okay, that's not a good sign. You want a slow release. Okay. Okay, so you've got the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands looks like the Knight of Wands sitting down and taking a break. Like he's finally resting. He's not at war. He's at peace. Okay, the Knight of Wands like storms into battle, right? Full throttle, full speed ahead. But the Nine of Wands is resting peacefully. Okay, on the steps there, on the staircase there. Okay, so let's take a look here at this Nine of Wands. I feel like something's brewing here. Okay, Taurus. And normally you're not a very you're a lot like Cancers, I think, where you don't get even though you're Earth sign and Cancers are water signs, I still think you get to that very calm place. And maybe it's not so watery, whatever you want to describe it, like vibing like that. Maybe it's more of a calm, steady, just kind of watch and observe, more grounded type energy, um, where you are the vibe, like you set the vibe. I don't know why I'm getting that, but that's kind of what I feel right now. Okay. Nine of Wands. A great struggle nears its conclusion. Stay alert for unforeseen weaknesses, defensiveness. Yeah, people are getting defensive around you because they see you coming ahead. Like they see you coming at them, and they're trying to defend themselves. But I don't think you're wrong for coming at people, coming off strong, because that's not normally what you do. So something must have set you off, Taurus. Okay. Here we see a soldier sitting on a series of steps that float in the air and ascend into the heavens. He has removed most of his armor, but not all. Although the battle is almost over, he remains in a state of readiness in case the situation changes and the struggle resumes. He guards 9 wands and holds one as a weapon to warn off more marauders behind him. The sun begins to set in an expanse of sky. In this card, some great struggle is nearing its conclusion. The final victory is yet to be achieved, but the goal is in sight. Um, in this card, some great struggle is nearing its conclusion. The final victory is yet to be achieved, but the goal is in sight. Now is the time to stay alert. Inattention at the crucial moment helps provide the downfall of many in endeavor. Rejoice in having come so far, but take a moment to examine the battlefield for unforeseen weaknesses. Is your desire to achieve your goal building you to the one thing that could prevent you from doing so? Or both blinding you, actually? I don't want that building, but you know, that goes without saying. I feel like, or you may be taking vigilance to an unhealthy extreme. The situation pictured on the card is appropriate at certain important junctures in the course of an endeavor, but you don't want to live this way permanently. You might drive others away and ultimately prevent the fulfillment of your own goals if you make defensiveness a way of life. Moon in Sagittarius. Having invested so much time and energy into cultivating your dreams, Moon, you now go to extraordinary lengths to guard and protect your cherished goals, Sagittarius. Yeah, I don't think you're charging ahead in the wrong direction, Taurus. I think you're going in the right direction. Okay, I really think that this is your time to rest. This is your time to recover, but it's also time for you to say this is why I deserve my rest, my recovery. I don't need to be told I didn't earn this time. I didn't earn this time to take a break from everything. I feel like you were pushed in a lot of emotional directions the last few weeks, and it really took a toll on you, maybe mentally, maybe physically, maybe both. So now you're like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Like, it's time for somebody else to like say, okay, I get it. You're passing the message along. Now it's time for me to take responsibility for my part in this, and you deserve the rest and the relaxation that you've worked hard to achieve because you've been the one doing most of the work, okay, and the heavy lifting. All right. So, um, that's what you can get out of this. Now, for what you feel, because this is a very feeling, emotional based reading. I mean, you have the Ace of Cups. That's the highest emotional level you can get to in the tarot deck, I feel like. So it really is time for you to take a look at, I think, and emotions are very tied to our physical well-being and our mental well-being. I think it is really time to take a look at that. So what you feel. This card explores the emotional roots and foundations of your present circumstance. This is where you'll find hidden emotional motivations. Oh, you got the King of Wands on your side. I feel like this guy, he don't play around. He don't mess around. He's like, I got you, Taurus. Okay, I got your back, girl. Like, this could be your significant other. This, taking care of the kids while you have a little break, or, just really discussing and talking to you about, financial things, or even just that emotional side of things that can sometimes be heavy burden to carry. Okay, so, and also has Sagittarius in here as well. So there's that. You can see that in the background, and Scorpio. Dang. Some dragon fire. Dang. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Okay. Yeah, this King of Wands, he does not mess around. He does not play around. Like, he's here to protect and serve you, Taurus. So let's see what this King of Wands is going on. What's going on here with this King of Wands here? Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So, King of Wands. The personality here, the King of Wands makes a difference in the world. He does whatever is necessary to change his environment into what he thinks it should be. And this includes winning others over to his vision so they can help bring his ideals into reality. Any kind of leader, ruler, or politician would fall into this category. In this leader's gaze, we see a steely determination, and his face is set in lines that have been etched by long experience. Like the queen, he has a tremendous amount of charisma, but while she uses her charisma for self-expression, the king uses his to convince others to help him remake the world in his own image. He has a large ego, a necessary ingredient in someone who wishes to replace existing structures with those of his own design. This is shown by his imposing crown, which symbolizes lines of power radiating from his mind into the world. Stage of development. A project or endeavor has reached a stage of peak strength and is ready to have its results manifested in the real world. Kings are controlling. The King of Wands seeks to control his environment and others in his life so that he can realize his ideals. 2/3 Sagittarius, 1/3 Scorpio. 2/3 Sagittarius, 1/3 Scorpio. The King of Wands uses his powerful and intense charisma to Scorpio energy to accomplish his expansive and idealistic goals, Sagittarius. All right, so you're taking a minute here, I feel like, to process everything because you do have a vision for yourself. I mean, this is the Tarot of Dreams. This is a dream reading. So you are dreaming, you are manifesting, you are envisioning a future for yourself and what that looks like. I feel like you might be taking on a more assertive role. That's where that ego comes in, where you're like, I need to assert myself now because you've taken a backseat far too long, Taurus. I don't know if this is something that, you did intentionally so as not to come off too demanding, too assertive, because, you were told probably those weren't like the greatest personality traits in the world. Somebody who is like overly assertive, you start to like tip over into the like ego, narcissistic side of things. But I mean, that's not you at all, Taurus. I just feel like people constantly try to put those labels on you. Or, if you're a woman, You might not get narcissist. You might not get, egotistical. Misogynistic, right? You probably aren't going to get told those things if you're a woman, right? You're probably going to get told like the B word or the C word. You're probably going to be called the C word or the B word a lot because you're asserting yourself in a very male dominated world, and that energy, exists everywhere. So it's really, and especially in today's society, okay, so it's really hard for you to, I feel like, muster up the courage, sort of speak on behalf of yourself, but you are doing it regardless because you're like, I have to, like, I'm not going to just sit back and like not, speak up for myself and speak on my own behalf. That's just not who I am. And you have goals, you have dreams, you have a vision for yourself, and you're manifesting it and you're trying to make it happen. And I think that's really important here. And, if you haven't fully tapped into that energy yet, because you're still in like recovery mode, rest mode, then you're going to be, putting your helmet back on. You're going to be putting your crown back on. You're probably like on like a mini vacation or staycation or something right now. You're just taking a little break, but you are slowly making your way back to that, like, I'm back again. I'm back, bitches. Like, right? That kind of energy, all right? So let's take a look here at the fifth position. This is what you deserve. This card shows what you expect on an emotional level. Okay, so we're going to see what you... And this is in alignment with the Ace of Cups. I love it. It's going hand in hand. All right, let's go. Let's see what's going on here. Whoa. Whoa, my goodness. Okay, whoa. Judgment. Whoa, the Chariot. Okay, I'm going to read these as they fell out, and I feel like the Chariot card, this energy here, okay, is going with this Ace of Cups here, I feel like. And then I feel like this Judgment card here is going with this Knight of Wands. All right, so that's how I'm going to read it. Okay, and we got some other cards coming in too as well. But let me see here. Okay, so this Chariot energy, this is some Cancer energy right here. Okay, there's a man here riding in on this chariot, and there's seems to be like a castle sort of, or tower of some sort, with this blue like sapphire gem up at the top there. So let's see, and he's riding on a wave too. Okay. So we got this Chariot energy. So this card shows what you expect on an emotional level, all right? All right, the Chariot energy, a confident approach to life, willpower, a youthful and experienced energy, pride and arrogance, anger caused by insecurity. Now that the Fool has explored each major personality component, in turn, he is finally ready to set off on his voyage. Okay. His vehicle is his personality or persona, Latin for mask. The term used is archetypal psychology to denote how one presents oneself to the world. In the Chariot card, this vehicle is a literal vehicle, a chariot. Each of the previous cards serves as a component in the chariot's construction. However, the previous cards are not simply static concepts. They are also energies, and these energies have their own preferred directions and agendas, which often contradict each other. The cards or concepts are represented by the chariot, but the cards as energies are represented by the horses. Together, these energies pull the chariot forward, but left unguided, they would pull the chariot apart. Therefore, the charioteer, representing that part of you that is most quintessentially you, must hold fast to the reins and use the horse's energies to move the chariot forward in the direction he chooses. In the Tarot of Dreams, chariot, charioteer, and horses all emerge from an ocean wave. White horses arising out of a sea foam are frequently used as a poetic image, and in fact, white horses is a meteorological term for white-caped waves. The image is perfect for the Chariot card because we actually see the personality in the very act of coalescing out of a turbulent sea, a common symbol for the subconscious. The charioteer's stance effectively shows his attitude of strength. pride, adventurousness, and perhaps a bit of arrogance as he sets forth on his journey. It must be remembered that the charioteer has only just recently assembled his personality and decided on a direction for his journey, and he is certainly not a seasoned or mature traveler. He might be likened to an adolescent, confident in his newfound stature, but lacking an experience that leads to wisdom. Perhaps the best definition of a mature person is one who knows that he does not know. The charioteer has not yet attained a self knowledge of his own ignorance. The true value of the charioteer lies in the indomitable willpower, his belief in his own ability to move forward and succeed despite obstacles and his own insecurities. His is a powerful, optimistic energy that is always available to us. The structure in the background symbolizes the fool's first attempts at constructing his own mental framework. He does not yet have the power of the emperor to create an entire city yet. The structure is still impressive in its own way. These are the fool's first attempts at placing things in context, at assembling a mental map that will enable him to navigate his way through life. A blue jewel shines atop the structure like a sun. This is a clue that the scene we are witnessing is not meant to illustrate concrete reality, but is rather like all the cards, a dreamscape illustrating the inner workings of our own psyches. Hebrew letter Cheth means fence. Like the chariot, a fence is a structure designed to contain and give shape and protection to what is inside. Astrology. Cancer is a sign of domestic security. This might seem a poor fit with the marital image of a martial image of a chariot, but not when one considers the patriotism and protection of the home are often motivating factors behind the desire to venture out into the world. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Taurus, you're not like known to be arrogant or anything like that, and I don't think you are. I think that there are some very arrogant personalities that they try to almost show off their own chariot energy as a sign of wealth or status or ego, right? It's all about their subconscious. Like it talks about their personality. I mean, there's many different types of vehicles in the world if you were looking at this as a vehicle interpretation. So I think that maybe Taurus, what's happening is like you're preparing yourself to travel, right? But you need a vehicle to do that. You need means of transportation to do that. You also need the motivation behind why you are seeking this out, okay? And that has to do with your home, okay? Protecting your home, protecting, behind the desires to venture out into the world. There's something about, venturing out into the world. Yes, you return home, you return to your place of rest, you return to your place of peace. Um, you know, but you also need to be able to leave that place to gather things you need to take care of that place. So it becomes a necessity really. It's not, oh, I don't need a means of transportation to go somewhere, to just go anywhere, right? You need a means of transportation so you can protect your home, so you can go to the store and buy food to cook at your home, right? So you can go to the doctor and get checkups and then come back home and rest. Like it's a necessary part of survival. Back in the olden days, right? In colonial times or in medieval times, people's means of transportations were horses, right? And you know that we don't see that now, right? People aren't traveling by horse anymore. They're traveling by car, right? They're traveling by airplane if they're going on a long distance, out of state trip that's, really far away. Like these are things that, aren't, these aren't ideas or these aren't concepts that are like out of the like not normal or not out of the ordinary. These are basic common necessities and resources to survival and to life. So that being said, I know there's a lot of arrogant people in the world who will use their status or their money or their wealth to say, well, I'm doing better off than you because I have a nicer car than you, or I'm doing better off than you because, I can travel more, things like that. It's a competitive type of arrogant energy because our subconscious is telling them like, show off how much you have versus how this other person has more or less than you, right? But you're not doing that, Taurus. You're just observing that energy while also, I think, trying to maybe save up money to get your own vehicle, or, save up money so you can travel to places. Like, these are things I feel like you look at as like everyday things, everyday necessities, everyday um, just normal, you know, consciously aware decision making processes. But I feel like there's this energy that's always trying to sort of like keep you from what's normal, right? But also I feel like throwing it back in your face and saying like it's not normal. I don't know why I'm getting that, but we got judgment. Okay, judgment will help. This hopefully will help clear things up. Okay. Um, this is position 6, what you tell. This shows how you present yourself to others and how you express yourself with judgment here. Okay, woo. All right. And I feel like because it's what you deserve, I feel like there's people telling you what they think you deserve for us. Why is that anybody's place to tell you what they think you deserve? You know yourself better than they do, right? You know yourself better than anyone, right? Because it's you, it's yourself. So why is somebody telling you what they think you deserve? That's the problem I'm seeing. That's the conflict I'm seeing. But judgment is what you tell, right? This shows how you present yourself to others and how you express yourself with some judgment coming. I think you got some judgment, some things to say. Now there's judgy people, right, that are saying, "Oh, you don't deserve this or you don't deserve that." A lot of you don't, right? I'm feeling like it's like almost like become a catchphrase around certain people that you've surrounded yourself with, Taurus. And I feel like has a lot to do with survival mode, but I feel like you're trying to come out of that. Okay, I feel like judgment is trying to release you from that. Your past, present, future self is trying to release you from that bond. Okay. Now, the gaining of a higher or wider perspective, seeing oneself as part of a larger whole rather as an isolated individual. Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to keep you isolated for some reason. They're trying to keep you isolated individual because of control. I feel like a lot of people around you want control over your life. Heeding a call to follow a path or take an action. Yeah, I mean, they don't want you to heed the call. I mean, isn't heating the opposite of like going? You're heating, I don't know, that's a fancy word. We'll find out. The fool might reasonably have thought that his voyage through the tarot trumps had ended upon attaining new awareness and confidence in the sun. But there are 2 more cards to go. The deeper and stronger consciousness must now be broadened to encompass more than simply individual concerns. Simply put, the judgment card shows the fool's awareness undergoing this broadening process. And in the world card, the fool abides in the boundless enlightenment that results. Traditional decks show an angel blowing a trumpet while resurrected corpses emerge from their coffins, as seen right out of Christian iconology. This refers to the resurrection and last judgment, when the sounds of the dead will be reunited with their physical bodies prior to receiving their final disposition in heaven or hell. In the Tarot of Dreams card, we see an angel, but here she represents the fool's inner self, who is, after all, only a part of the awareness or motivating force of the universe. On the Judgment card, the angel calls on us to widen our perspective and to awaken to our existence as part of all that is. We are called upon to identify ourselves with the universe as a whole rather than as a solitary ego. On the card, the angel stares out as expectantly with infinite wisdom and patience. Beneath her, 2 golden men hold up a golden hoop, through which we see the progressive stages of a woman's ascension. On the Judgment card, the circle is seen in its ultimate incarnation. Passing through, we finally cross the boundaries of our egos to join the world consciousness that awaits. The 4 female figures show a progression of awareness. At the lowest position, the woman floats with her attention directed downward. At the middle positions, she feels herself being tugged upward and through the transformative hoop. Finally, she passes through the transformative circle, ready to face the purifying fire of universal awareness. In the tarot, gender is often used as a symbol, and it can be instructive to consider the gender of the figures on each card, as long as we remember that those genders are meant to be thought of in a symbolic sense only, and do not refer to anyone's actual gender. On the judgment card, the two male figures might signify the same kind of reason: order and intellectual harmony that we saw on the sun card. This solar reason acts to channel the lunar subconscious energy of our inner selves, the female figures, in order to bring it into a more cosmic awareness. Thus, what we see is essentially an energy diagram that shows a pleasing symbiosis between the yang or solar energy and the yin or lunar energy. Each needs the other. Neither can attain the goal without the other. In a reading, as with the other cards, we must often bring the cosmological or spiritual implications down to earth in order to relate them to current situation. The judgment card can simply refer to gaining a wider or higher perspective, or heeding a call to follow a particular path or take a particular action. Hebrew letter. Shin means tooth. As the shedding of baby teeth and the growing of adult teeth signals a new phase of maturity, so the judgment card initiates us into new phases of awareness. Astrology, Pluto is the planet of transformation and regeneration. Yeah, a lot happened with Pluto recently in the past month or two. And still things are going on every single day. But basically, it's like if you know what you deserve, okay, here, and people are saying you don't deserve it, you don't deserve a Taurus. It could be a lot of, symbolic female energy. It could be a lot of symbolic male energy that's trying to prevent you from your ascension, trying to prevent you from upgrading, trying to prevent you from where you're going next. It's like they can't prevent it, okay? No matter how hard they try, these energies cannot prevent you from what you are meant to have, from what you're meant to deserve, okay? It simply isn't done. Like, the universe wants you to align with what you're meant to have. It encourages you to do so through signs, symbology, synchronicities, coincidences, right? Serendipitous events, destiny, whatever you want to call it. But the point is that when someone says you don't deserve, you don't deserve, you don't deserve, it's just proof that you are excelling. It's just proof that you are moving forward and people are noticing. And those that lift you up and support you and want to open those pathways for you and want you to see that manifestation happen, that ascension happen, you're gonna know, because they're right there with you along the way. And those that are not there for your ascension are not going to be present. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you're expressing yourself fully as you are. You're not holding back without judgment. You're not saying, okay, well, people are saying I don't deserve this, so they must be right. You're no longer living by other people's judgments. You're living by your own judgments, and you can see proof that that's the right course to go. That's the right path forward. Now, position 7, what you are, the parts of yourself that have been determined by the physical circumstances of your upbringing. Okay, we have the 5 of Wands. Okay, I see conflict here, but I also see like a warrior here, and I see like multiple positions, like a force from this masculine energy, like male energy. But again, it's like the gender doesn't matter, right? It just matters about what's symbolizing here. Okay, what's being symbolized here. So we're gonna find out. Okay, 5 of Wands. Yeah, I feel like you were raised to believe like you don't deserve anything, you don't deserve happiness, you don't deserve love. These things might have not actually been said to you. Maybe they were, which is really messed up. But I think that I just feel like you were told like you don't deserve things, or you don't deserve this, or you don't deserve that, like your whole life, Taurus. And now you're older. I mean, the shedding of the baby teeth, right? It's like you have matured, you have grown, and now because of this growth, you do deserve. You need to start saying things like, I do deserve happiness, I do deserve, the basic necessities of life, the bare necessities. But yeah, let's see here. 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands. I feel like you were raised in a lot of conflict. And like it was a very chaotic household that you were raised in. Okay, Five of Wands, a battle or struggle, teaming up against a common foe. Oh, yeah. I feel like there was a lot of teaming up against you, Taurus. Maybe you were bullied. You were the black sheep of the family, is a more like common used term. You know, you were the outsider in, you know, social groups, social settings like schools. I feel like you were the victim of bullying and harassment, but I feel like you rose above it. You ascended above it. I feel like you almost wore it as like a badge of honor, you know, to be, you know, attacked so frequently. One can only assume you got something that other people need, right? Confidence, I feel like you have a lot of confidence, Taurus. Cooperative creative work, people who are isolated from each other yet work toward common or opposing goals. And a lot of people around you are working toward opposing you, but you also have a lot of people that are working with the common good for all, for benefit for you, for your they want to see you succeed, Taurus. Okay. Against a fiery dawn sky, four male figures wield wands in the center of the card. Two disembodied hands wield a fifth wand. Five is typically a number of instability and also a great opportunity. Two complete opposite energies. The five men on the card can most easily be seen as fighting with each other. Thus, the most obvious meaning would be a battle or struggle. It is a battle. It is a struggle for you to fight against the opposing team, the opposing energies that are coming at you, Taurus. It's always a battle. But I feel like you love a good fight, you know, but it has to be like a fair fight too, right? I feel like when the odds are stacked up against you, like I'm getting a little bit of David Goliath type vibes. I don't know if you know that story, or like a little bit of like the tortoise and the hare type energy, right? I keep getting this also message of like slow and steady wins the race. You don't need to speed ahead, right? You can take your time. Um, yeah. However, there are other possibilities. The men could all be on the same side. For example, teaming up against a common foe that surrounds them. In this case, the meaning would be a team of allies under attack. Another possibility is that the men aren't fighting at all, but rather constructing something together. Cooperative, creative manifestation would then be be the emphasis. Okay. If you look carefully, the men seem to each inhabit their own world and are not relating to each other. In this interpretation, the card could mean several people who are working alone, isolated from each other, who are nonetheless working toward the same goal or opposing goals, depending on if you see the men as cooperating or fighting. Any of these meanings could apply depending on the context of a specific reading. Astrology, Saturn in Leo, the creative and self-confident Leo faces restrictions from the limiting effects of Saturn. Yeah, I think this is all the same person. I think this is you. I think this is a team of allies. I think this is you working with yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing what you need to, um, you know, when you need to stop to rest and recover versus when you need to go. So I think that this is a great positive outlook. I think you are up against some opposing people. Don't get me wrong. There's always those types, right? There's always those people, right? That are always coming for you, right, Taurus? But I still think that you are succeeding nonetheless. I think the odds are more in your favor. And Leo, again, confidence. I think you have a lot of confidence even when you are up against opposing forces. I think you're used to it by now. I think you've dealt with this your whole life. Um, so I think you thrive, honestly, in conflict. I think you thrive in chaos. I think those are some of your greatest gifts and talents. All right, position 8, what you need. This card shows what you feel you need to be happy on a physical level. In other words, what level of physical comfort or security you need on what level of risk. Okay. Emperor energy. Okay. We were just talking about this. So again, it's like you know what you need. You don't, everyone's always like, oh, you don't this, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that, you don't need this, you don't need that. Why are you telling me what I need and what I don't need? You're not me. So how dare you? But again, that's a narcissist, right? That's a bitch. Like, um, so yeah. Righty. So Emperor energy. Let's see here. Emperor energy is about. So, fatherhood and the fathering principle, authority, laws and regulations, social and government institutions, social responsibility, tyranny. Okay. On the Emperor card, we see a dream city complete with buildings, towers, and avenues lined with trees. Looming over the city is a powerful male figure who holds two scepters. Each of these is topped with a glowing spiral, which shows us the object of his allegiance and also the ultimate source of his power, the regenerative power of life itself. We can also deduce this from the sun-like spheres atop the spirals and from the sunburst pattern on his breastplate. The emperor is quite a solid-looking figure, yet at the same time he seems a bit unreal, almost as if he is being projected onto the night sky from the city below. Thus, he doesn't really represent one specific person as much as he does a concept. The emperor is a graphic and archetypal representation of the civic functions of society. The emperor asks us to examine the role of power in our lives. How effective are we in dealing, as well as we must, with institutions and powerful people? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. Did I record that? I hope I got that last part for you, with the emperor. But yeah, basically we're on to the magician now. Magician energy. Okay. Shoot. So let's take a look here at this magician energy. So, the magician, education, training, knowledge, common sense, opportunities, translating thoughts and plans into action. As the fool embarks on his voyage, the first personage he encounters is the magician. As soon as we are born, our minds immediately begin processing sensory input, drawing conclusions about it, and learning from it. And it is the function that the magician represents in the language of archetypes. He is the wise old man, variations of which we will encounter in a few different cards. As a magician, he is the teacher, the mentor who gives invaluable advice as we set out on our own individual quest. In a reading, the magician can represent a person who performs this function in our lives. On a more personal level, we rely on our inner magician to help us learn new skills and abilities and to recognize opportunities. Often, this happens on such a deep level that the realization or learning seems to come in a flash of inspiration, as if a real live magician had zapped into our heads. And that's one way to begin to approach the terror of dreams. Magician. His sphere of power illuminates for us the four suit symbols, signifying different approaches to problem solving. Lightning crackles around the sphere, illustrating the very flash of inspiration that seems to leap into our minds just when we are at wit's end. His eyes are tired and kind, yet they also display steely determination to shepherd the recalcitrant reluctant student toward insights that await, if only we can apply the will and self discipline needed to attain them. The four suit symbols, wand, cup, sword, and coin, I said that weird, coin, symbolize different ways of perception or different methods of action. Wands alert us to take an active role, to be creative, and to forge ahead despite difficulties. Cups murmur to us to consider others' feelings and to examine our own, and to take an intuitive approach. Swords propose that we analyze the situation, and coins tell us what we need to consider, the consequences of our actions, the material results that we will be left with. Any situation will require a combination of some or all of these modes of action, and the magician, whether as another person or as our own inner faculties, can help us choose the right mixture for the job. The necessity to be flexible in choosing one suit energy over another and combining them according to the task at hand is shown by the pink infinity symbol, the sideways 8, floating between the suit symbols. Like the shape of the symbol itself, we must be able to bend and twist our approach as circumstances change. This theme will reappear in more depths in the temperance card. The infinity symbol also tells us that the ability to learn from our mistakes and to find inspiration is always with us, even in the darkest times. The magician's throne sits on a stone disk which floats above the clouds, showing us that he is not grounded in any particular place or time. On an inner level, we can always learn from our surroundings and circumstances and devise new ways of dealing with them. On an outer level, our capacity to learn from a teacher or mentor does not stop at childhood, but can be invoked at any time, no matter our age. Whenever we meet someone who knows something we would like to learn, the floating disc also reminds us to avoid being too set in our ways and to remember the flexibility and adaptability needed in order to fully implement the magician's teachings. In his hands, he holds a long staff topped with a complicated curling design. If the curls are seen as snakes, then the staff is reminiscent of the caduceus, which in ancient Greek symbolized represents a herald. The magician could certainly be seen as a herald, bringing us world of conclusions reached by subconscious processes in our minds. The caduceus is also a common symbol for Hermes, messenger god of the ancient Greeks, whom the Roman called Mercury. Mercury is the astrological symbol assigned to the magician in this and many other decks. In astrology, the planet Mercury symbolizes communication and the actions of the mind. Hermes also serves as a guide of souls or psychopomp, who, upon our deaths, escorts us to the afterlife. This theme is echoed in several examples of the wise old man teacher archetype in popular culture, where at the end of the quest, the teacher reappears to guide his former student to a new plane of existence. Hebrew letter, Beth means house. The magician allows us to begin building a rudimentary mental dwelling from which we can observe and learn from the world. Astrology, Mercury is the planet of thinking and communicating. Um, so, um, each of these cards, when they're placed, okay, they have deep meaning, all right, due to the position that they're placed in. So you have mental energies here, you have emotional energies here, and you have physical energies. So, um, basically, you are coming into alignment with your mental and emotional and physical self. Okay, and the Ace of Cups, all right, that's an emotional card, right? That has emotions tied to it, and it falls into your emotional, um you know, well-being, but it also has to do with your mental well-being. Okay, so if you're feeling very emotionally like sad or upset about a difficult thing that's happening in your life, I am picking up on, maybe there's a father figure in your life that is going through some physical issues. The magician card falls into the physical side of things. So I feel like you could be dealing with maybe a father figure that is going through some physical problems right now, and that's leaving you emotionally and mentally saddened. Okay, so I feel like um, you can process things in healthy ways. You can communicate with people in healthy ways. All right, and I feel like that's what you're doing here, especially when you get caught up with people who are not supporting you. Okay, so that's the message I Okay, so that's my message for you, Taurus. Love and light always. Stay healthy. Okay, take care of yourselves. Love and light always.